Dave Connor came back to Angeles City after 4 months away. He didn't warn her. He wanted it to be a surprise. He brought a ring. The apartment he'd rented for her was locked when he arrived. His key still worked. He'd paid the rent up front. Inside, her things, all there, her perfume on the dresser, a photo of the two of them on a beach in Boracay. He'd printed it himself, put it in a frame before he left. He sat down on the bed and waited. She came home at 3 a.m, not alone. What happened between that first bar fine and this moment, and why this story isn't about a bad person, but about two people with completely different ideas about survival, you'll understand by the end. Stay until the final chapter. There's something there that could save you, and not just your money. Dave Connor was 43 years old, Canadian, from Calgary. He worked the oil fields, rotating shifts, 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. Good money, hard work. A lot of free time when he wasn't on site. Divorced 6 years. His ex-wife stayed in Calgary. He had a 7-year-old daughter. Saw her whenever he was home. Good dad, as much as he could be. His life was normal, not empty, just ordinary. Work, money, his daughter, bars in Calgary on weekends. Nothing special. He first came to the Philippines at 39, went with a couple of buddies. Classic story. Let's go see Asia. They went to Angeles City. If you don't know what Angeles City is, that needs some explaining. Angeles City is in Pampanga province. About an hour north of Manila, it grew up around Clark Air Base, a massive U.S. Air Force installation that operated here from the early 20th century until 1991. When the base closed, the infrastructure stayed, and so did the industry that had been serving American servicemen for decades. Today, Angeles City is one of the most well-known sex tourism destinations in the world. That needs to be said plainly. Fields Avenue is the main strip, bars, clubs, and venues where thousands of women work. Most of them from the provinces. Most of them there to earn. Here's how the system works. A woman works in a bar as a GRO, guest relations officer. She sits with customers, drinks with them. Usually colored water, priced as alcohol. She dances on stage. If a customer wants to leave with her, he pays a bar fine, a fee to the bar for letting her leave before her shift ends. Usually between $20 and $60. Then there's her personal fee. That's a separate conversation. This isn't underground. It's an open, functioning system. Everyone knows about it. Nobody officially acknowledges it, and hundreds of thousands of women participate in it across the country. Dave came to Angeles City like a tourist, like most men do. On day 3, he met May. May Sanchez, 24 years old, from eastern Samar province, a small island on the eastern side of the country, 7th child in her family. Her father died when she was 12. Her mother raised the kids alone. Small farm, a little fishing, whatever the land could give. At 21, May moved to Manila, worked in a garment factory, less than $300 a month. Half of it went straight home. Then a friend told her you could earn 5 times more in Angeles City. By the time Dave showed up, May had been working in the bar for 3 years. She was good at her job. She knew how to listen. She knew when to laugh. She knew how to make a man feel like he was the only one in the room. That's not cynicism. That's professional skill, built over years. When she first saw Dave, she saw a customer. Not a bad one, not a good one, just a customer. What changed after that is a different story. Dave paid the bar fine that first night. Standard. Nothing unusual. Not for Angeles City. But the next day he came back, not to pay another bar fine, just to talk. May wasn't used to that. Men came for one thing. Men who came just to talk, those were rare. They talked for 3 hours. Dave told her about Calgary, the oil fields, his daughter. May listened, at first professionally. Then she said later, for real. He asked, "Do you like working here?" She answered honestly, "No." Then she added, "But I have to." Dave remembered that. On day 4, he said, "I want to get you out of here." She looked at him. She had heard that before, many times, but something in his voice was different. Dave paid what's called a long-time bar fine, an unofficial arrangement with the bar to take her out of rotation for several weeks. A few $1,000s. Then he rented an apartment. Nothing fancy, but clean and safe, away from Fields Avenue. Paid 3 months up front. May moved in. Dave stayed in Angeles for another 3 weeks. He said later it was the best time of his life. They cooked together, went to the beach. He introduced her to expats he'd gotten to know. She was different outside the bar, quieter, more real. Her laugh was different. He was sure this was the real thing. Then he had to go back to Canada, back to the oil fields. Before he left, he set up a local bank account for her, started sending $1,000 a month. Rent, food, whatever she needed. He said, "Wait for me. I'll be back in 4 months." She said, "I'll be here." He got on the plane. They messaged every day. Month 1, everything was good. She sent photos, food she'd cooked, view from the window, a stray cat she'd found in the courtyard and started feeding. Dave looked at those photos in a bunkhouse in northern Alberta and smiled. Month 2, a little less often. She said she was tired, said she picked up some extra work. He didn't ask what kind. Month 3, calls got shorter. Sometimes she didn't pick up. Called back hours later. "I fell asleep, sorry." Month 4. Dave started noticing the pattern of when she was online. Late at night. Very late. He told himself she was always a night owl. On the rig, his buddy Mark, who'd been to Angeles City before, said one day, "Hey, you're still sending her money every month?" "Yeah." "She know you're coming back soon?" "No, it's a surprise." Mark went quiet, then said, "Maybe don't do the surprise." Dave didn't understand what he meant. $1,000 a month, 4 months, apartment paid, messages every single day. Dave was certain. He got her out. She was waiting. Mark tried to hint. Dave didn't hear it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now's the time. We tell stories like this every week, and we're just getting to the part Dave didn't see coming. Dave flew into Manila on a Sunday morning, took a cab to Angeles City, 1 hour, rice fields out the window, then suburbs, then the city. The ring was in his pocket, not a diamond. He wasn't that type, just a silver band. He'd bought it from a jeweler in Calgary. He thought about how she'd open the door, how surprised she'd be. The apartment was locked. His key worked. Inside, her things. Everything in place. That same cat, orange, fat, asleep on the couch. Dave set down his bag, sat on the bed, decided to wait. It was about 2 in the afternoon. He didn't call. Surprise. He waited. At 1 in the morning, he texted, "I'm here. Where are you?" No answer. At 2, he texted again. At 3, he heard a key in the door. The door opened. May walked in. A man walked in behind her. They didn't notice Dave at first. He was sitting in the dark, hadn't turned on the lights. Then May saw him. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just stopped. The man behind her said something in Cebuano, then saw Dave, understood, and left, quickly and quietly. May and Dave looked at each other in the dark. Dave didn't raise his voice. That matters. He didn't raise his voice. He asked quietly, "How long has this been going on?" She answered, "Since the first month." "You were working the whole time?" "Yes." "Same bar?" "No, a different one. The money I was sending, I was saving it. Most of it I sent home." Dave stood up, picked up his bag, set the ring on the dresser next to her perfume, and walked out. He got a room at a hotel, didn't sleep, stared at the ceiling. He wasn't thinking about betrayal, though that was there too. He was thinking about what he hadn't understood. What exactly did he think he was doing? He thought he was saving her, that she'd leave everything and wait, that the money he sent was her new life, her freedom. But for her, his money was one source, the bar was another. The money she was saving, that was a plan, not a plan to stay with Dave, a plan to build something specific. He didn't know that. He never asked. He assumed he knew, because in his world, someone who's been rescued is supposed to want to be rescued. In the morning, he texted her, "What were the savings for? What were you building toward?" She answered an hour later, "A shop. I want to open a small shop back home in Samar for my mom." Dave stared at that message for a long time. He texted, "Can we meet, just to talk?" She said yes. They met the next morning, not on Fields Avenue, in a regular mall. May showed up without makeup, plain t-shirt. She looked younger than usual and tired. Dave asked, "Were you planning to keep working the whole time I was gone?" She answered, "I didn't know what would happen. You left. Your money. It was good, but it wasn't enough. I needed more. I had to move fast." "Move fast toward what?" "Save while I can, while I'm young. This kind of work doesn't last forever." Dave listened, then asked, "What was I to you? A customer?" May was quiet. Then, at first, yes. Then, no. "You were different. I didn't expect it to go like this." "Go like what?" "You became important to me." Dave didn't know what to do with that. Let's talk about the system, not to excuse anyone, not to judge, just to understand how it actually works. The women who work in Angeles City bars, they are not victims in the simple sense. They're not villains either. They're people inside an economic system where their time and presence is the only liquid asset that earns 10 times more than a factory or an office job. Most of them are doing this temporarily, with a specific goal: save enough for a house for the family, pay for a sibling's education, open a shop, buy land, something. They try to keep work and life separate. For them, a man who pays a bar fine and says, "I'll get you out of here," that's not unusual. That's part of the landscape. They've heard it dozens of times. Some of them let themselves be rescued for a while it's convenient. Thus they get back to their plan, not because they're heartless, because their survival doesn't align with someone else's romantic storyline. Dave thought he was writing a rescue story. May was writing a Capitol building story, Both were real, they just didn't match. They talked in that coffee shop for another 2 hours. At the end, Dave asked, "If I hadn't shown up unexpectedly, would you have ever told me?" May thought about it. "I don't know. Maybe when I'd saved enough, I'd go home and tell you I was leaving, that I wanted a different life. And the ring." She looked at his hands. He hadn't brought the ring with him. "You had a ring? I left it on your dresser." "Dave, I couldn't marry you. I can't move to Canada. I have my mom, my family. I'm not that person." Dave nodded. He got it. Not right away, but he got it. He wasn't a bad person. She wasn't a bad person. He wanted to save her. She didn't need saving. She needed capital. Those are two different things. In Manila's airport, waiting for his flight, Dave called Mark, told him everything. Mark listened without saying a word. Then, "I tried to hint." "I know. I didn't hear it." "Are you angry?" Dave thought about it. "No. I was angry that night. Then I talked to her. Now, no. I'm angry at myself for thinking I knew what she needed, for thinking my money was her freedom. It was just money. One source among several, nothing more." Mark said, "You're not the first. I know. And not the last. I know that too." "How are you?" Mark asked. Dave looked out at the runway. "Fine. A little smarter than I was." Let's talk about what you actually need to know. Number 1, a bar in Angeles City is a job, not a romantic encounter, not a chance meeting. A job. For the women who work there, it has its own logic, its own rules, its own goals. When you pay a bar fine, you are not saving anyone. You're buying time. That's an honest transaction. Calling it a rescue means you don't understand what's actually happening. Number 2, "I'll get you out of here" is the most common and most naive narrative in all of Angeles City. Thousands of men say it every year. Some women let them believe it because it works, because a man who believes he's rescuing someone pays more willingly, pays more. That's not a conspiracy. That's adaptation. Number 3, real relationships with women from this world, they are possible. But they require honesty, not "I'll save you." But I want to understand your life. What do you actually need? What do you want? Does any of that match what I want? An honest conversation early on costs a lot less than shattered expectations later. Number 4, sending money to a woman in this situation does not create loyalty. It creates dependency, temporary. While it's convenient, while there's no other source, while the plan isn't finished, thinking money equals faithfulness is an expensive mistake. Number 5, if you met someone in an Angeles City and you think she's different, special, the one real one in all of this, maybe she is. It happens. But the only way to verify that is presence, time, honest conversations, not money up front and hope that it all works out. Dave went back to Calgary. A few months later, he heard through mutual contacts May had left Angeles City, gone back to Samar, opened a small shop. He doesn't know the details. He didn't look for them. Sometimes he thinks about her, not with bitterness, just thinks. He doesn't think she was a bad person. He doesn't think he was a good rescuer. He says, "I thought I knew what she needed." I didn't. What I actually knew was what I needed. To be needed by someone. Those are two different things. That's probably the most honest thing you can say about this story. There was no villain. There was a man who wanted to be needed, and a woman who needed a different life. They used each other in different ways, toward different goals, with different levels of awareness. And both versions were real. They just didn't match. If this story made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. More stories like this one are coming, real ones.